Okay. Tommy Jewell,
Present.
Debbie Strong,
Present.
Debbie Dodge. I believe she sent a excuse. Elena Giacci. Dan Layden.
Let the recording reflect that Elena waved. You're muted, Elena, so we didn't hear you. And we're glad that you got on.
Thank you.
We see her though.
Yes, we do.
Diane Layden,
Here.
Joseph Lopez,
And there was indication that Joseph had sent an email saying that he might be out of range. So that he has provided excuse as well.
James Stewart,
Here, ma'am.
Michael Wismer.
Here.
Okay, that completes the roll, and the chair concludes that there's a quorum. So we will conduct business. The first item after roll call is consent agenda. I might add approval of the agenda. Is there any problem with the agenda? I think it was initially sent to us as a draft. I don't know if we received any amendments or any comments on the agenda, but with your approval, the agenda as it has been published will be approved. And the chair would call for a motion to approve minutes for the June 10, 2022 meeting. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Oh, sorry. I'll second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the minutes for June 10, 2022 be approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the June minutes are approved. Next, item 4 on the agenda is Sheriff's Office comment. Do we have anyone from the Sheriff's Office? It doesn't appear that we have anyone from the Sheriff's Office, so we'll move to the next item, public comment. Has Danette, anyone indicated a desire to speak at this meeting?
We didn't have anybody sign up. I do see KOAT Action 7 News and Joshua James here as participants.
Well, we welcome the news representatives and the gentleman that you mentioned, and certainly if there are public comments, we will hear them at this time. I wanted to say, I think Floyd had sent something in indicating that he would not be available for this meeting, and it's summer, so I guess I shouldn't be real concerned, but I think we need to be cautious about losing the public. So I always want to make sure that we are getting the word out about our meetings and that there's sufficient interest. I know within our membership, some of our members have been working on putting together, or I shouldn't say putting together, but at least attracting the League of Women Voters to do some kind of forum. And so now it occurs to me is a perfect time for the public to be involved and provide us with comment and have an opportunity to have voice going into this election. But I hear no public comment. Vice Chair Strongin, I see your hand.
Yeah, thank you. I just have a question. I'm just wondering if any of the any of the members of the public or the press, how do they indicate if they want to make a comment if they haven't signed up in advance, but they're here now? Is there a way they can do that?
Danette, they can raise a hand, can they not?
Yeah, they can raise their hand or send us a chat. Usually they'll say we're just here to observe, or they'll just say not here to public speak.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we had a mechanism for that.
Okay. And certainly, as I am not the greatest, I'm not terribly proficient with this medium. So if during the course of our meeting, a hand goes up or someone in the chat says they want to speak out of agenda reference, I'll accommodate that. So.
Well, and speaking of that, last time, typically I turn off my phone during like meetings, and we had, when I turned it back on, we had the Bernalillo County Commissioner, lead Adrian Barboa, sent me a message saying about the report that was mentioned. And so I guess she was trying to communicate that she was on, but couldn't communicate. So I was just, wondering about that as well. What Deb brought up is, making sure that we can hear from the public if something like that comes up and they don't have an advance of saying something. But next time, maybe we can just put that as our just the beginning of every meeting, letting the public know that if they have a question and they haven't signed up, they can still either raise their hand or put it in chat so that people know in advance. But yeah, so it happened. I mean, the good news was that our county commissioner head, Adrian Barboa, listened to our meeting, I think, and it sounded like for most of it. So that I think that was really great, and that she wanted to participate, or if nothing else, she at least listened to it and said she had wanted to know about that report. And then Deb and I had an exchange about what that report was, and I think she was thinking it was a new report and not the other one that we had talked about. So
Well, I think that captures that very well, both giving entreat to the public that they may comment if they haven't signed up, as well as acknowledging the conversation at our last meeting that occurred, I guess, through initially a message to you and then afterwards, because I think what prompted her to say something is one of the board members said, gosh, we haven't had any participation by any of the county commission. And lo and behold, our commission chair is listening to our meeting. And so, certainly I want to express for this board gratitude to those commissioners, including our commission chair, for participating in our meetings. And so sometimes we don't know exactly who's listening, that's fine. We conduct these meetings in a business-like manner, and I don't have any problem if a commissioner or indeed members of the public or press want to remain anonymous, but certainly if either desire to make a comment, there is accommodation for that. So anything else on that? Well, I don't think that prompted any public or commission comment, and so we'll move on to item 6, old business. Item 6A indicates a review if any updates are needed on current board code of conduct and the role of the chair at the meeting. And Mr. Wismer, I have you for that item, and I know that we had placed that back on the agenda because you were unable to give that comment at the last meeting. So is there anything else that you need to tell us or do for us with respect to our code of conduct or on the role of the chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to start off by saying I haven't been at a couple of meetings, and I would personally like to welcome James and Elena. I think I hope I speak for everyone when I say I think this is a really good functioning board, and everybody seems to be willing to do their part, and we have good strong leadership. So that's my paid political announcement for today. I wanted to sort of bring some finality to a couple of processes that we wanted to formalize for the board. We are a relatively new board starting only a year and a half ago. And first I'd like to talk to the, we had a discussion about creating a code of conduct to make sure that we did not enter into political arena unnecessarily, and that we did not make favorites or advocate for one candidate or another. So we put the code of conduct together. And we also added comments about, we would run each meeting with dignity and respect. And the only change that has been suggested by one of our members deals with the bullet statement that says that we commit to engage in political activities, including without limitation endorsement of a candidate for elected office only as a private citizen and not as a member of the SOAR board. Mr. Stewart suggested that we simplify that language to say only engage in political activities as a private citizen and not as a member of the SOAR board. If the rest of the board is okay with that language, I would ask that we have a vote to approve the code of conduct and to ask Danette if she would post that on the website that has the SOAR board information so that the public knows what our code of conduct is and what we have committed to. So let me stop there before I go on to the rules of procedure and see if we could possibly move forward with a motion to approve the code of conduct as amended.
The chair accepts that as a motion. Ms. Layden, Dr. Layden, you had your hand up. Are you seconding?
Yes, I'll move or I'll second whatever is needed.
The report itself may be the motion, and so I'll
I'll
receive your second.
second. Thank you.
It's been moved then and properly seconded that we approve the code of conduct as amended. Is there any further comment on that? Is there any further comment on that? Hearing none, the chair will call the question. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that is approved. Mr. Wismer, you have the floor again.
Thank you. And I will get the final version sent electronically to Danette so that she can post it. The next part of, as a result of the discussion of the code of conduct, it became clear to us that we wanted to, there were other components that we discussed that we wanted to make sure were codified. And in order to bin those comments properly, I felt like most of them some of them belonged in the rules of procedure. So I went and updated the rules of procedure, and I will just go over the changes that I made to the rules of procedure. And my goal was to make them reflect how we currently operate. We did an initial rules of procedure approval back when we started as a board, and things have changed a little bit based on the dynamics of our leadership team. So I tried to capture those. The first one is that the meeting agendas are completed by the chair and vice chair in consultation with the county manager or their representative, and their representative right now is Danette. So I just wanted to make sure that we are covered, that Danette works with the chair and the vice chair on the every agenda to make sure that it reflects what should be done. The next change that I made is that our chair, the beloved Judge Jewell, likes to sometimes, when some of us are passionate about a particular subject, he will ask the board member to lead the subject on that agenda topic, like he did with me, for instance, with the Kalia discussion. So I codified that and said basically that the chair at his discretion may also ask a board member to lead the discussion on an agenda topic. That way that is a way we operate, and I wanted to make sure we were codified in that. The next change to the rules of procedure speaks to the notion of courtesy and decorum. During our discussion, we all of us were pretty clear that all comments and questions and general discussions are to be directed to the chair, as the chair is the leader of the meeting, and we're not to get into discussions or arguments with other board members. Every time we are asked to speak, and every time the public is asked to speak, those comments should be directed to the chair as the leader of our meeting, and it also emphasizes dignity and respect for all the participants, and under the courtesy and decorum paragraph. And then finally, the last change was that the members of the public may provide comment when invited to do so by the chair. The time limit is generally 2 minutes unless the chair grants an extension of that time limit. So those are the changes. And if those are approved, acceptable to the board members, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes dated the the rules of procedure dated July 8th, 2022.
That recommendation again can stand as a motion. Is there a second? The chair sees that Ms. Giacci has raised her hand to second. Is there further comment then on that motion? It's been moved and properly seconded that our code of procedure, our rules of procedure be amended as Mr. Wismer has outlined. Is there any further comment on that? Hearing none, the chair will call for the question. Those in favor of accepting those amendments, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Those amendments are then accepted, and Mr. Wismer, again, would you see that those get published through the net?
I certainly will do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The chair recognizes the vice chair, Ms. Strongin.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of the whole board, that I think Mr. Wismer has done a really, really excellent job on the code of conduct and the rules of procedure. And we certainly thank him for taking the initiative to do both of those, and originally and the updates. So thank you.
I think that's well said, Vice Chair Strong, and thank you, Mr. Wismer. That beloved part about me didn't make it into the recommendation though, did it? Okay.
Yeah, but you know it's true. You know it's true because it's in our video recording now.
Is there anything further on those items, Mr. Wismer? Well, again, thank you. We'll move to item 6B, update on discussion of annual report outline. Vice Chair Strong.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have received comments from 2 individuals, one on the board and also from Floyd Vasquez on draft number 3. But that's all I've received. So if anyone else has comments, they could either raise them now or email them to me, either as a list of items or just mark up the report that you have and send it back to me, however you would like to do it. But the comments that I have gotten, I definitely appreciate very much and have incorporated them, and we'll be sending out draft 4 after this meeting, including incorporating anything that anyone should happen to bring up during this meeting.
Okay.
So if
Thank
anybody has either questions or comments, corrections, input, including Mr. Roberson, please feel free to raise that.
And Ms. Strong, would you once again go over our timetable? When are we looking at being completely finished with our annual report?
I think it would be good if we have it in final shape by the end of our November meeting, certainly, because we need to submit it January 1st. But I really would like the next draft, well, draft 5, I guess, because I will distribute draft 4 pretty immediately after this meeting. But I would like to try to get, you know, all the blanks that we can fill in done, you know, up to whatever we can currently do. So I can update based on the results of this meeting. But anything where I've highlighted where I need people to fill things in, and I would really appreciate it if anyone has time to do that, to please send it to me.
Okay, thank you. Further comment or questions on the annual report? And I know you're not in a position to speak to this as you did with Mr. Wismer. So let me just say, on behalf of the board, we really appreciate you championing the annual report. You did a tremendous job with it last year, and you're on track to even outdo what you did last year. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, but I would like to stress that it's only made better by everyone's participation. So keep that in mind, please.
Noted. There's nothing further on the annual report. We'll move to item 6C, which is update on discussion of article in the journal on editing crime video and BCSO's process. And I have Dr. Layden looking into that and leading that discussion. Dr. Layden.
Thank you. I sent you an article a meeting or two ago that mentioned that the BCSO video of an incident was edited, and that this isn't the custom with other law enforcement agencies. So I interviewed the reporter, Matthew Risen, on June 14th, and I sent you the results of the interview. He explained that he was mainly referring to APD and the state police, who don't edit their videos at all when they send them to the Albuquerque Journal. The state does require an IPRA request in order to obtain the video, but the video isn't edited. The APD holds a briefing when there's a police shooting, and they may edit the video by blurring out somebody's face or hiding identifying information, but that's just for the purpose of the PowerPoint and the briefing. Both the APD willingly, they don't need a request, they just send the videos to the journal all the time. The state also willingly provides the videos. When I asked whether the issue of editing came up because the reporter asked about it or BCSO spoke about it, Matthew wasn't certain, but he agreed that the captain said it was edited to protect BCSO tactics. Now, it was interesting. Matthew volunteered the information that he didn't think that the alleged perpetrator was stopped by BCSO. He said he thought he stopped himself, but now he wasn't there and we don't know. BCSO did provide 8 separate videos, each 90 minutes long, of this incident that the journal then went through to report on the article. It wasn't all brought together in some simple way. I hope you found this exercise interesting. I did, to learn about the editing. My concern is only that the public be informed when videos are edited. I will trust the sheriff's office that they have their reasons for editing videos, but the public should be told that so they know what they're getting. And the undersheriff at the last meeting assured us that the original videos are retained and they're protected. So that material is in safekeeping. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any comment or question by the board? Mr. Stewart, did you have? I see you, Ms. Giacci. Go ahead.
I guess I'm always puzzled by the editing component, and it worries me about the editing component. And I think that if the video is edited, that there should be a compendium that says we edit it because of personal safety issues. We edit it because this is currently under investigation. I mean, for some reason that it was edited and changed, because essentially the video is changed if someone is editing it, so you don't get the full idea. And we know how dangerous that can be for everyone, for the officers and for the community and public at large. And I just think that we would maybe need more clarification, or what the current policy is for BCSO on editing and what the reasons for editing would be. I think we could make a request that just says we would like more information and list the items of reason for editing and why, because I know that some police associations do, but I would say others do not. And when they do a freedom of information, that I think that's really important. So I don't know how everybody else feels, but I would like to know why it got edited, who who made that final decision to edit, and then what was essentially taken out was 3.5 minutes out of an 8-minute tape, or 50 seconds out of 10-minute tape, or 9 minutes out of a 10-minute tape. I would like to know why.
Okay, thank you. And I see your hand, Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Chair, with my law enforcement hat on, not so much my board hat, we have continuously got ourselves jammed up when we start mucking around with these videos as a law enforcement agency. In most agencies, or many agencies anymore, they just release the video. This whole idea of protecting tactics and all that, I think, is somewhat of a specious argument, and it would serve the agency, I think, just to be forthcoming. Here's what happened. Here's what our officers or deputies saw, and we'd like for you to see what they saw.
Okay. Well, Vice Chair Strongin, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Dr. Layden, I just wanted to clarify, did you say that an IPRA request is only required for BCSO, but it's not required by APD or?
No,
Okay.
an IPRA request is required by the state, but they willingly turn over the video. It's not required by BCSO or APD. They do have to ask BCSO for the video. It's not an IPRA request, but they have to ask. APD just automatically sends video of police shootings after the briefing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Further comments, questions? And so we have, I see your hand and I see Danette's hand. Yeah, Vice Chair Strongin.
Oh, I just wanted to mention that this may be something that we want to consider, possibly in September, maybe, or even next month, adding as a recommendation the items that Elena mentioned, as a recommendation to BCSO, that those things be included, that background information be included in each case where there is an edited video that's released by BCSO.
And I'll be happy to put what I just said and for the next meeting, so that we can take a look at that and see if there's anything else we want to add or whatever. And then maybe we can have one of the leadership send that with all of our names behind it, saying that we would request that information from them and see what they do.
Okay, so let me just indicate that there apparently are two recommendations, and I saw Mr. Stewart kind of shaking his head. So perhaps his tracks with Elena, but if I'm understanding him correctly, he does not, from a law enforcement standpoint, really see the need for editing for tactical privacy. And so that may go the way of a recommendation, in addition to Ms. Giacci saying they need to tell us explicitly if they're editing and why they're editing. So I think Vice Chair Strongin's suggestion that somehow we opine on this perhaps in September is a good one, and that Ms. Giacci put her suggestion down for some kind of vote discussion follow-up in August. Mr. Stewart, is there a follow-up to your suggestion? Would you like to see that to a recommendation?
I think that the two of us could merge that together. I'll be happy to work with her on what she just provide my input.
Okay. Anything else on this matter, the editing of the videos? Anything further? Dr. Layden, to close. Anything else on this? All right. Thank you for carrying this item, Dr. Layden. We'll then move to item 6D, which is update on review of BCSO's SOPs. And I have Mr. Stewart listed to speak to this.
Mr. Chair, thank you for this opportunity. And if the existing board members will forgive me, I don't know if y'all beat this to death in the past or not, but here's what I'm seeing is that it's fairly easy to get into BCSO's policies. It would be even better if it was on the front of their website. So you kind of got to go digging into their website before you actually find them. And they call them SOPs. And that common term for most of us is standard operating procedures, not policies. So if they could call them BCSO policies, I think that would be helpful, and put a direct link on the front of their website. But you can get in there and you can get the policies, and they're downloadable. You can actually, the one that you're interested in, you can download it, print it out, and discuss it. What I don't know, Mr. Chair, is what's on the back side of this. This is what I can see. This is what's on the front side. This is what the community can see, but I don't know the process by which they update, evaluate, and review these policies. As for an example, here is, and I apologize, I should have shared the screen, but this is from the APD, the Albuquerque Police Department, and this is one of their policies. Same deal, but you can get to it much more quickly. But across the top, they have the effective date of this policy. They have the review date, the date by which this whole policy will be reviewed again to make sure it's still appropriately worded and in compliance with case law. And then it also says in here what date this particular policy replaced. So the BCSO, in the background here, all that information is available. The system they use for this is PowerDMS, and I'm scheduled under new business to talk about that. But PowerDMS keeps all the previous versions of the policy in records, so that if you have to go back and look at it, it's there. And as an administrator like I was, I wanted those old policies for many reasons, one of which was if a deputy goofed up and we just found out about it now, and it was 2 years ago, we'd like to go back and see what the policy was 2 years ago, whether or not that they violated or didn't. So I've reached out to the undersheriff multiple times and have made no progress in getting in the door to talk about the backside of the policies. I will continue with that endeavor, but I'll just stop it at that. I'll put a period there. I will continue with that effort.
Well, thank you. And I certainly this isn't the most, certainly this isn't the first time that the board has heard a comparison between the ease with which you can get APD's policies versus BCSOs. And if you're not having any luck with undersheriff, it seems to me there was a a captain, wasn't it Waymeyer?
Yes.
And
Huffmeyer,
I'm sorry,
Captain Huffmeyer.
Huffmeyer, okay. Huffmeyer, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Captain Huffmeyer.
And so perhaps it's appropriate to go to him directly if you're not having sufficient help from the undersheriff.
Okay, Mr. Chair, the only issue I have with that, I'm a military man too, in addition to law enforcement,
Chain
and
of command.
there's a chain of command. And if I go poking in below the undersheriff, he may already resent my poking around anyhow, but if you so direct, that's what I'll do. And if I may have your leeway here, this is from Albuquerque Police Department. And up at here is step 1 and down here is step 8. And this is the review process, and it's published to the public. It's on their website. And it talks about the initiation of the policy, reviewing it, and it goes all the way down through these multiple steps. And then the last step is it's approved by the chief of police. So they're quite public with how they promulgate their policies.
Okay. And I saw a hand, Debbie Strongin.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I think it's probably appropriate to go to Captain Huffmeyer directly, only because he was the person that Under Sheriff Corin actually referred us to. Diane Dosal and I spoke to him previously some time ago, but we did speak to him specifically about this, and he was presented to us by Under Sheriff Corin as the person who's in the know on this issue. So I also just wanted to mention that I noticed in the chat that one of the participants, one of the members of the public wanted to speak about the video editing. So I don't know.
I saw that, and
Okay.
certainly we'll allow Mr. James to speak. So bear with us, Mr. James. I didn't want to interrupt Mr. Stewart's presentation, but we'll certainly hear you. So let us bring a close to this conversation before we do that, though. And so if you are comfortable, then Mr. Stewart, going what might appear outside of the chain of command, even though it appears that we have encountered this and that would not violate chain of command because it has been run through the undersheriff previously. Okay. We would appreciate follow-up there. And it sounds like you've made some good observations that might be helpful to them. I think also coming out of this, I see the need to re-invite the sheriff's office to participate here. It's summer and perhaps personnel aren't available, but it certainly hampers our work if we don't have representation from the sheriff's office as we have previously enjoyed via the undersheriffs. So I hope, and maybe this is something that we talk about, reference the candidates forum that we want to encourage. But it certainly helps us if we have participation by the sheriff's office, and as a board member, you're not having to say "Mother, may I" a bunch of times to complete our work. Vice Chair Strong.
Thank you. I'm just thinking that maybe what we can do is send out a letter from the chair to BCSO, which I believe we did in the very beginning of our meetings, maybe in January of 2020, I guess it was, or 2021. Just re-establishing the invitation to BCSO to attend.
I think that's a good suggestion. Without objection of board members, I'll see to it that that I word a kind letter, making sure that they understand that we value and welcome their input at these meetings. And if somebody wants to have input into that letter, please contact me via email.
Okay.
Thanks again, Mr. Stewart. Anything else on the SOPs? Okay, you're shaking your head, you're muted, and I see
No.
Ms. Giacchi's hand.
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I think I would like to put on the agenda for next month is talking about transparency with the sheriff's department and how to achieve that, and having maybe a longer discussion of, I mean, because it's not just BCSO, the sheriff's department often isn't as transparent as I think they should be to be responsible to community. And so I would like to have a discussion and some of maybe steps that we could move to gaining more transparency of the sheriff's department.
I appreciate
for
that,
next
that
month.
observation, Ms. Giacchi, and there's a space on the agenda for you to suggest topics for our next meeting.
Okay.
That's a little broader than Mr. Stewart's discussion. So please hold that thought. If there's nothing further specific to the SOPs, we'll go back and accommodate Mr. James. Joshua James had indicated a desire to speak, and he wanted to speak with respect to the video editing. I now see his, and I'm not sure what that is, but I see a hand next to it. And so Mr. James, is it Lawrence or James?
Joshua James is my first name.
Oh, okay.
So as far as the camera footage that comes from the officers, there needs to be a chain of command for those SD cards or however that video is transferred. The moment that editing is done on the video, it's no longer evidence. It's no longer admissible in court. It's now tampered with. So there's no excuse that the sheriff's department can give for any editing to be done to any video. And that's all I got to say. Thank you. Constitutional.
Okay, thank you, Mr. James, for that comment. And we have legal here, and the sheriff's got an attorney. And so I'm not going to worry about issues of admissibility in court. That's not our discussion. Certainly transparency with the public is, and I see your hand, Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Chair, this is based on my own personal experience with the body cameras that we used back in Texas, but the deputy had no control over that whatsoever. Whenever they got within a receiving antenna, it was automatically uploaded.
Yeah, and I don't know how that works. I don't think that the deputies individually, except some systems have to be initiated by the officer. Some are self-initiating. I don't know which type we have, but I think, and Dr. Layden helped me, this went beyond in any officer tampering with body cam footage to the issue of I guess editing through I would think the chain of command for purpose, the video that they were letting to the public. So I don't want,
Yes.
I don't want to mix apples and oranges. Are we still on task with that? So we've got the issue of the intentional editing of the footage, so that and in this instance it was a tactical. It was a decision to maintain secrecy of tactics. The other conversation is a bit different, where we're talking about whether or not there is an ability of an individual officer to control, edit, or otherwise alter video footage coming from his body cam. So, and certainly we need to be cognizant of both, but with the former, the intentional editing, we're going to receive recommendations and perhaps make some recommendation to the sheriff's office and perhaps to the county commission. With the body cam, we probably need to know more about that before we delve into any recommendation making. Anything else on that? Thank you again, Mr. James, for your comment. If there's nothing else, I think that concludes our old business, and we'll move on the agenda to new business, under which we have listed the sole item discussion of League of Women Voters candidate form. And I have Vice Chair Strongin and Giacci. It seemed to me that Dr. Layden was working on this as well. So will the three of you please take charge of that item and let's discuss it?
Okay, I'll start off. Back in May, I got in touch with Karen Wentworth of the League of Women Voters. As it happens, she follows Bernalillo County. And before this all came up, I told her about the Sheriff's Board and directed her the website and so on. So she's interested. Now, on July 1st, I heard from her, and at that point, she met Debbie Strongin and Elena Giacci, and she knows we're a committee. She's looking for a co-sponsor, and she sent us a message. I have it. I can forward it if anyone else wants to see it. Elena and Debbie have seen it. What the co-sponsor does, they reserve the space in community center, library, or senior center for a candidate forum. They set the date, and they invite the candidates, and they publicize it. Now, this was the last message. They're looking for a co-sponsor. Debbie Strongin replied that her husband is president of the Albuquerque Neighborhood Associations, and no.
Sorry, just of my local neighborhood association, which unfortunately is not really organized enough to, with all due respect, to set up a forum like this.
Okay, well, they need a co-sponsor to do this work. So it's done well. I went to the League of Women Voters website. I sent the links I found to Elena and to Debbie. This is a big deal when they set up a candidate forum, they record it, they have protocols for it and so on. So that's where we are. Now we do have time. The election is in November. If we can arrange this forum by September, that's good enough. Even October, we have the two candidates. John Allen is the Democrat, and Paul Pacheco, that's how he pronounces his name, looks like Pacheco. You know, we've got time to do this, but we don't have a response yet. To me, this is sort of 50-50, whether we can accomplish this. I certainly hope we can. So I'm waiting to hear.
Okay, I see Ms. Strongin with a hand up, and she's a part of the team here. Please go ahead.
Oh, actually, I have a question for Dr. Layden, which is just, do you think that the county commission could possibly be a sponsor? Because they may be set up to have a forum and record and all of that part of it.
I don't know.
I think the commission is going to have the same political restrictions that we have. I think, and if we still have media representatives on the
KOAT.
Yeah, if we still, I think they do a good job at these forums. I mean, you've got a gubernatorial race, and I'm sure there'll be a ton of interest about that, and perhaps some other other races that might be higher up on the ballot. But experience at least has told us that these are important races, and so I'm hoping that the media might step up and perhaps partner with the League of Women Voters and make this a good forum. Media, if you're still on, please give that consideration. If not, let's pass that on to Floyd and see if he can help facilitate perhaps some media participation with that. And that's not an indication that we should limit the other efforts, but I don't think we need to focus on the county commission. Daniel, I don't know if you want to say anything about that, but I think they're going to have the same restrictions about political participation. And I see your hand, Ms. Giacci. Daniel, go ahead. Daniel?
Oh, yes, and I apologize.
Daniel, did you go mute again?
Sorry about that. I'm back now. The county commission will have the same exact issues as this board does, because of the political activity and the nature of them. They also all do receive a salary as well. So they're in a little bit of a different situation because they are definitely employed, but they're also political in nature for themselves. So you never really see them debating for the specific positions.
Okay.
Or appointments or wherever they're being elected, but we will run into the same issues. I can do some additional research to see and give you guys a written answer by email if you'd wish.
Well, I don't know that we need to pursue the county commission. If that's something that they want to take up, that's something they want to take up. I don't think, unless somebody sees purpose in that you need to use energy in trying to see if the county commission would co-sponsor a form. Ms. Giacci, did you have something to contribute?
In the past, I have done races like the Attorney General's office, judicial district, with the different city council pieces of city council. And when we did those, we got full cooperation from the city council, and they allowed us to have the meeting space that they always met in. And then we got to have the ability to have it taped and on TV as well. And they didn't have a conflict of interest. So it would be interesting to see if the county commissioner does, because I think it would be a perfect place to have they already have the media set up. They have a room that has plenty of people to have it. And it's not really a political thing. What you're doing is offering up, the candidates and not expressing one over another. It would be interesting to hear what Daniel comes back with on whether or not they would be allowed, wouldn't necessarily be sponsor, but as a place of community. As citizens, we have the right to be able to utilize that space as well. So it'd be interesting to see what they come up with, because it would be the perfect place to have it, because they have the meeting space, they have the parking, they have all of those other things, and they have the ability to tape it so that it would be on. It could be accessed by other people once we've completed it as well. So it'll be interesting to hear what they say. And in the meantime, I would be happy to offer up trying to find a meeting space and doing those things. United Way has a great meeting space that they offer up to community, so we might be able to avail ourselves of that and to do different things, But I would be happy to take a look at meeting space, parking, and, because League of Women Voters knows protocol, to time, to all of those kinds of things, and they are seen as neutral. So it would be great to have their participation, and that's what they do so well. So that's covered. It's just space and those types of things. And I would be willing to take a look at that before next meeting to see if we have anybody to pursue that, in case Daniel comes up with there's absolutely no way we can do it with the Bernalillo County commissioners.
Yeah, okay, I'm not muted. Yeah, and I don't know if there's a difference between facility, as you're suggesting, Ms. Giacci, and involvement of the commission. And so, Daniel, certainly if you have a reaction now, you're free to give it. If not, and as you have offered, it's something that you can look into. We would appreciate knowing. I think what Ms. Giacci is suggesting is, we've got public spaces that the public ought to have access to, and so without otherwise being involved in political debate, political speech, the county could be involved in that manner. That's fine if it's blessed by the right people. Otherwise, let's continue to look for an appropriate partner. I think the League of Women Voters, as I understand, Dr. Layden has made the commitment to do it if they find the appropriate partner. So anything else on that? And of course, I suggested news media because it just seems to me to get this on a bigger stage, and I don't know what the vision is, but to get this on TV or radio, you know, just adds so much more public notice to the importance of the race, if that can be had. So regardless of that partner, I would urge media attention. Anything further on that? Hearing nothing, we've come to the item on the agenda. Well, it says announcement of the next meeting, and I thought I kind of told Ms. Giacci that we had a space on the agenda for items for the next meeting. Yes, Ms. Layden?
Yes, the agenda was amended to include the MCI and the DMS, PowerDMS.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So those two items are there, and I'm responsible for the MCI, and then Mr. Stewart, the PowerDMS.
Very good, please proceed.
Okay, thank you. Hi, in the summer of 2021, Mayor Tim Keller and the city of Albuquerque sponsored the Metropolitan Crime Initiative, 5 meetings of law enforcement and interested parties to reduce crime through action items and proposed legislation for the 2022 legislative session. For example, in addition to law enforcement, representatives were invited from the offices of the governor, attorney general, courts, and public defender, along with the tribes and crime victims. You can go to the MCI website, go to cabq.gov and enter MCI in the search box, and you'll find the participants and activities in a number of reports, including a report of legislative proposals, some of which were accomplished by the MCI. During the mayoral campaign last year between Mayor Keller and Sheriff Gonzalez, Mayor Keller stated that the BCSO was the only law enforcement agency that did not participate in the MCI, which I confirmed with Damon Martinez, APD Senior Policy Analyst. In July through September of 2022, 3 meetings are scheduled. The MCI has been, 3 meetings are scheduled on the topics of gun violence, drugs and behavioral health, and domestic violence. Under Sheriff Corrin received the MCI link in the agenda, and I will send this information again to Under Sheriff Corrin. And I urge Sheriff Gonzalez or his designate to attend and contribute to the MCI conversation. So thank you. There's a lot of stuff. You know that our community is very high in homicides. Albuquerque had a record year. I looked at the BCSO data and I found it by quarters. I don't know how many homicides there were, 2021, for example, but the metropolitan area is high for homicides. This is a great concern. So I'm urging the sheriff's office to participate.
Dr. Layden, I had asked you if there might be a place at the table for this board. Is that something you explored?
I didn't explore that, but I will.
Okay.
Damon Martinez was out of town. He just got back. He was at military training. I will ask him. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Strongin.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that we did have this issue in last year's annual report. And because of the possibly political nature of the situation where the sheriff and the mayor were political opponents, we did not take a position on whether BCSO should or should not have attended the MCI meetings. The situation is a bit different now. And so we may again want to take up that issue in our annual report anew, depending on how the MCI meetings go.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between prospective and retrospective. And so we want to make sure if not this sheriff, somebody that has an eye on county law enforcement, i.e. this board or the commission itself, is at the table. It doesn't make sense in my mind to not be a part of the conversation about law enforcement in our community. So regardless, there's that going forward. And certainly, pardon me for the cough, certainly if it doesn't happen and there's a sense on this board that we need to put it in the report retrospectively that we didn't participate, then we need to do that.
Mr.
Yes.
The first meeting of the MCI is on July 19th. As I said, I'll resend the MCI links to the undersheriff. I'm actually willing to ask for a resolution that we encourage the sheriff or his designee to participate prospectively. Is that going too far? What do you think?
The chair will accept that as a motion. Is there a second? Ms. Giacci raised her hand to second, I believe. Any discussion of that?
Mr. Chair, I just have a question.
Mr. Stewart.
Dr. Layden, is this a public meeting or it's just for the invitees?
I think it's for invitees, but it's recorded on video and placed on the city's website. You can go to the 2021 meetings to see what they're like. I don't know if the public is excluded, but I know that it's all recorded as a video.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Restating the motion, it is to communicate with the sheriff's office our suggestion, advice that they become a participant in the MCI. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, Dr. Layden, if you will draft a letter that can go out under my signature.
Okay.
Is that all on that, Dr. Layden?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much.
Okay, sure. The chair recognizes Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Chair, thank you one more time for allowing me to speak. It's just a couple of minutes. I just want to talk a little bit about PowerDMS to the group. PowerDMS.com is a great site to go to. There's about a 27-page PDF there that you can go, and it's an executive summary of what they do. But generally, it's a cloud-based software system that allows police agencies, hospitals, schools to manage their policies, their training, and it's really geared towards those entities that are accredited. Law enforcement agencies, there's a big push to get law enforcement agencies accredited, particularly after the uproar throughout the United States, May of 20. The county from which I came, there's 2 cities in the University Police Department. All 3 of them are accredited. All 3 of them use PowerDMS. Despite my best efforts over 8 years, I could never get my sheriff to agree to be accredited. There are not a lot of sheriff's offices that are accredited. In New Mexico right now, we have 1 sheriff's office that's in the process of becoming accredited. It's Donna Anna. And then there's 4 police agencies plus the state police that are actually accredited by CALEA right now.
Let me interrupt. Mr. Wismer, didn't we have a presentation by the Los Alamos chief, and they're accredited there?
Yes, we did. we had that presentation and Mr. Stewart probably has Los Alamos on their list as one of the 4 police
Okay.
departments. And yes,
All
we have had discussions about CALIA and the value of CALIA accreditation at this board.
Okay, pardon the interruption. Please continue, Mr. Stewart.
Okay, I heard Mr. Wismer reference that earlier in his presentation today, so it caught my ear that y'all had actually talked about CALIA before. There is, although I've not been able to talk to anybody at the municipal league, supposedly there's a state organized accreditation process, which is less restrictive than CALIA. But I'll know more about that soon. But anyhow, I'm getting off topic here. But as an administrator, the beauty of PowerDMS is that there's one source for our employees and the public to go to see what the policies are. And as I said earlier, we have the front side of PowerDMS that anybody can look at, and then there's the back side of it. And that's what I'd really like to drill down into with the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, because I don't know what else they do with it other than publish the policies out to their employees and to the public. The other great tool that PowerDMS offers is training, in that you can push out training to your staff. Typically, there's a PowerPoint attached to it. They have to review that. Typically, they take a test and then they sign off with a digital signature. And so that the agency administrator has a record of all the training that's pushed out through PowerDMS. Also, when new policies are promulgated, that deputy has to go in and read the policy. Typically, there's language in there that says, here's what's changed from the previous policy. And there's a clock attached to it. So little Deputy Stewart can't just go in there and click on it and put a digital signature on it. It requires some minutes that would hopefully indicate that I actually read the thing. And sometimes there's some questions attached to it that you must answer, and then you affix your digital signature. So from a management of policy, from training, PowerDMS is a powerful tool. I'm glad to see that the Sheriff's Office is using PowerDMS. I just would like to learn more about how they do use PowerDMS. So subject to your questions, that's really all I wanted to cover today.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Questions and comments? Okay, and Mr. Stewart, should we put this back? I see your hand, Vice Chair Strongin. It sounds
Yes.
as if you're going to take a deeper dive and report back again. Is that fair?
Yes, absolutely.
Ms. Strongin?
I just wanted to add that, Mr. Stewart, when you speak to, or if you speak to Captain Huffmeyer, he might be someone to follow up on that question with, which we tried to do. And, we're told that we could not be given, that we as SOAR members could not be given regular updates of when policies and so forth were amended, but maybe the position of the department has changed. So,
Well, I know one of the candidates has indicated that it would be more forthcoming with this type of information. And, the only way you can do it right now is to go through and read every policy. And that's pretty difficult to do. And one of the ones I came across, because community oriented policing is a big thing with law enforcement agencies. This is their policy on COP, and it's been in effect for 17 years now. Hasn't been updated in 17 years. And I know that community policing has evolved in the last 17 years.
Well stated. Very good. We'll look forward to your follow-up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have I omitted any other topic? I know, Ms. Giacci, you had suggestions for discussion at our next meeting. And so if you would speak to any item that you would like to see on the next agenda, and others are invited to do the same.
I think for me, I would just like to put forth transparency. Obviously, just all the things that we've been talking about today shows that we need some pretty significant changes with the Sheriff's Department being more upfront about the reasons they change things and the reasons they don't, and why they haven't changed a 17-year-old policy. And my bet is it has been changed. It just hasn't been noted in the official policy. And so understanding that and gaining better ground on how we might accomplish that. And I thought that I could bring some suggestions, and I know Deb has offered to kind of help with, you know, those ideas and bounce those off. And I would be happy to put a little meeting together between now and then and see what we would come up with as far as just how we would start this. Because we definitely, in my viewpoint, need to see change as far as the sheriff's department being more responsive to community and to themselves, so that we can look at options. And what a perfect time to come in with that when we have a brand new sheriff.
Thank you, and that certainly can be placed on the next agenda, Danette. Other items that the board would like to see on the agenda? Other agenda items? Well, certainly we've got some follow-up that is urgent. The candidates form, the SOPs, and so those items should be on our agenda. I guess annual report will certainly need follow-up. I don't know of, I think you'd asked Ms. Strongin for input. You're going to get another draft out, and then
Right, I'll update based on today's meeting and all the comments I've gotten, all the very few comments I've gotten so far. And I would like to commend Floyd, although he's not here, but he did pick up some of my typos, which I really appreciate, as well as substantive input. So, you know, any input is really appreciated because it's our annual report, not mine.
yeah.
And the typos are rare.
They are, and it is so difficult, and I appreciate the job that you do, Web Strongin, to edit your own stuff. So I really appreciate that you do that, but understand that it should be a team effort, and I should not assume when I see a typo, well, she'll catch that. So
Do not assume that.
okay,
If it's in there, I have not caught it.
that's my own intellectual laziness. So I'll do a better job for you, for us, pardon me. It also occurs to me, we still have one vacancy, is that right? A District 1 representative. Do we need a communication from the board to anybody on making sure we get that filled? Or is that, does anybody know of anything in the pipeline by which we should not be concerned about that vacancy? Who did we communicate with on the other vacancies that served us so well? I guess the power of appointment would be the District 1 Commissioner, Danette?
Floyd did reach out to the commissioners for them to reach out to their constituents if there was anybody. And that's how we got the District 2 candidate, which was Mr. Lopez. So we could ask Floyd to reach back out.
Well, in as much as Commission Chair wanted some report, I think it's appropriate to report that we still have a vacancy in District 1 that we would certainly like to see filled. We benefit so much by the participation of other new members. There is just a new energy about this board. I feel like an orchestra conductor, you know, relative to those instruments behind you there, Mr. Stewart, which I'm sure you're expert at. You all are doing your jobs very well, and hopefully I'm assisting in blending the immense talents of this group, and so we need another instrument. And so let's reach back out to the commission, perhaps the commission chair, and say, man, we really appreciate the additions to the board. They have just been excellent. We look forward to that vacancy being filled and having a full orchestra. Deb Strongin.
Thank you. I think last time we had actually touched on the idea of having more regular communications with the county commission and possibly having at least one of our members attend commission meetings and interface with commissioners. So I don't know if we want to take that up now or put it as an agenda item for the next meeting, but certainly anyone who is interested in participating in the meetings or observing them is free to do that now, I think either in person or by Zoom on the county website.
Certainly that's the case that you can participate. I guess if there's to be a voice for this board, it should be me or the person I designate. But I am certainly willing to designate. I feel blessed to know that if I delegate that, it will be well handled. Mr. Stewart, you had your hand up. Were you volunteering?
Mr. Chair, yeah, I've been thinking about going, not so much to advocate on behalf of the board in its entirety, but to talk with my commissioner.
Okay.
So he doesn't forget who I am and vice versa. But, I have 8 years of going to weekly commissioners meetings. That's, we met every week, 52 weeks out of the year. So how many meetings is that? That's a lot of meetings, but
That's a lot of math.
there's benefit to them connecting the SOAR with, that we're interested in what goes on with the commissioner. So yeah, I'd be happy to go down there and show my put my cowboy hat on and
okay. Well, let's communicate on that. If it is your intention to go, perhaps communication with me will empower your ability to speak for our organization.
Okay.
Was that in the chat, Deb Strong?
Oh, well, I was just asking Elena if she has an interest in also being a liaison to the board, given that she has some very close contacts in the county commission that she's worked with for a long time.
Okay.
So.
And I'll bring my cowboy hat.
Or cow person hat.
Yeah, but I like the idea of having either multiple representatives or just having representatives, because when they know that we're interested in what they're doing, I think we send a really clear message, and that we need their support when we need it, I think is just invaluable. So I completely agree with Mr. Stewart about that being an important role that we can carry.
Yeah, and I know you all appreciate the tightrope walk that can be, and will not let it slip into substance for which you're taking a position that we have not voted on. So I trust that both of you can handle that very well, and I don't have any problem with it. Please just send me an email that you're there at the meeting, and if there's a specific issue, how you're addressing it.
Hey, Judge, are you a text person? Could I just drop you a text and say, hey, I'm going tonight?
You sure can.
Okay.
You have my number?
I do. Danette gave me, not everybody's, but I've got a lot of them here.
Okay. All right. So 2 things before we adjourn. One, the next meeting is scheduled for Friday, August 12, same time. 2, we talked about taking steps towards hybrid and needing to test some system. And Danette, can you tell us where we are towards doing that? We had targeted next month to test something, looking at September to have a hybrid meeting. Is that still doable?
Yeah, I've touched base with some internal people here who I'll probably set up a test just with them internally. Having them call in from their private lines and then B, coming in from an invite from their private. Because the one thing we do know, county employees that are on teams, they don't have a problem coming in. What I need to test is from outside parties coming in. So I'll set up a little test with them and then let you know for our August meeting how that kind of went. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reserve the conference room that we're gonna use, and then I'll have them dial in from their outside numbers to see if I could see them.
Very good. While we have Danette on the stage, let me just say that she and I communicated, and another board member, if I might, our vice chair, said, man, she doesn't have to be so thorough with those meeting minutes. That must be very taxing. So we did communicate that to her. Danette just does a tremendous job. She told me that she used discretion on those particular minutes because they reflected the candidate comments, but that she knows that she doesn't have to take verbatim notes for purposes of minutes. We have a recording of the meeting, and so it's really not necessary. But on behalf of the board, Danette, I just want to express appreciation for the job that you do for us. We really appreciate it. And please carry on and continue to use your discretion in how you complete your task.
Thank you.
And that's not to say we don't appreciate you, Daniel. Thank you for what you do kind of quietly and behind the scenes. And we know that we can be a bit much. I guess I should say I know as a lawyer and a judge that, you know, we can be a bit much, and you keep us on track. So we don't want to get the county sued. So we appreciate you.
But you are beloved.
Yes, you are. And that can be in the minutes. Is there anything else, fellow board members? Certainly, I appreciate you all. We've gone basically almost an hour and a half now, and I try to keep us within some time frame. So I don't want to belabor, but is there anything else we need to discuss? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any objection to us adjourning? Hearing none, we'll stand adjourned until August 12th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.